This is how to make thumbnails so good, people can't ignore them. Because one thumbnail can be the difference between you going viral or being invisible. But what actually makes someone click? To find out, I analyzed 135 of the best performing thumbnails on YouTube. And I found out they all follow the same 4-step formula. The first step is actually the one most people don't even know they are missing. Visual magnets. Your thumbnail doesn't just need to look good. It needs to interrupt the pattern. Thankfully, humans are biologically wired to pay attention to certain things instantly. The first one is danger. When something looks like it could go wrong, you instantly pay attention. Because you need to know what happens next. The next magnet is intensity. The more extreme something looks, the harder it is to ignore. We look because we sense something important might be happening. Now, this is super important. Notice how your eyes instantly jump to the weird thing here? That's because anything new always catches our eye. Novel things could mean potential opportunities, so our brain locks in. But I still haven't told you about the most important magnet. And you probably noticed it in the thumbnails I just showed you. Faces. We look at faces all the time because we need to know how others are feeling. In fact, it's so powerful that almost every thumbnail on YouTube uses them. And familiar faces work even better. That's because we are biased to look at things we already know. And finally, bright colors. Colorful things stand out immediately. Because in nature, bright things usually mean something important, like ripe fruit or a poisonous animal. So when you use this, make the thing you want people to notice the brightest thing in your thumbnail. And these are the main visual magnets that stop the scroll. Now, you're probably asking, how many of these should I actually use? Well, there isn't a perfect number, but if you look at the top thumbnails, most use about 2 to 4. If you have too many of them, it feels clickbaity. And if you got too little, it feels boring. And once you nail this, you are already halfway to a banger thumbnail. But magnets alone won't get the click. The next step is what separates your thumbnail from the ones that actually go viral. And now I want you to look at this because there is a problem here. This is a typical YouTube thumbnail. It has a face, text, and some icons. It's not the worst, but in this form, it's still missing something important. Because every time you click a video, you always have to have some sort of emotion. It could be curiosity, excitement, or even fear. That emotion is what creates a question in your mind, and that question is what makes you actually click. But with this thumbnail, there is no question you're asking. And if there is no question, there is no one that will click the video. So step 2 is to create a strong emotion with your thumbnail. And here are 4 ways to do exactly that. The first type are tension thumbnails. They show high stakes situations with strong reactions. You always see something big happening in the actual scene. All of this makes the viewer wonder what happens right after this exact moment. Next are contrast thumbnails. These use a bold claim that goes against what most people believe. This gets them intrigued and sometimes even angry, which is all you need to get a click. Now, these 2 thumbnail types were not even the best way to get someone curious. The next type is even better. Result thumbnails show whatever result the viewer wants to get, like making money, mastering a skill, or being productive. People want to get these results really badly. That's why these thumbnails work so well. Finally, I want you to spot the last type in these thumbnails. Did you spot it? All of these thumbnails show a transformation from point A to point B. This creates tons of excitement about the journey, and that makes the thumbnail almost impossible to ignore. And these are all the viral thumbnail types. Now I'm guessing you want to know which type to use for your own video. So you need to figure out which part of it you actually want to show. This could be the moment of tension, the transformation, or even the result itself. For example, if you're teaching people how to go from broke to rich, you're obviously going to use a transformation because that's the main point of the video. But if you still find it hard to pick the right type, don't worry. I've put together a full playbook that breaks this entire system down. It has examples, breakdowns, and a checklist you can follow step by step. It's absolutely free, go grab it in the description. So once you've picked the right thumbnail type for your video, you're ready to design it. Now I know I said that design isn't the most important part, and that's true, but once the psychology is locked in, proper design is what actually makes it work. And this is where most thumbnails actually fall apart. They nail the idea but lose the click because the design makes people work to understand it. To see that in action, take a look at these 2 thumbnails. Which one would you click? Most people pick the second, but they are for the same video and use the same thumbnail type. So why? Well, it's that the second one is just faster to understand. The first takes effort to decode. It could mean the tallest athletes, the most famous athletes, or even just something about basketball in general. That extra thinking costs time and viewers won't give you that. That's why the most important thing in design is to make the viewer get the thumbnail instantly. The first step to do that is choosing the right elements. Now, you first need a title for your video. See, viewers read the title and thumbnail together. The title tells them what the video is and the thumbnail confirms it. If they don't match, the viewer gets confused because the story isn't clear. So think of your title as a one-sentence explanation of the video, like I tested 1-star hotels or how to make the perfect hot dog. Now, the thumbnail's job is to visualize that sentence. The most important part of the title becomes the main star of the thumbnail. For the hot dog video, it's the hot dog. For the hotel video, it's the person testing the hotels, since that's the focus. Essentially, the main star is the what of the video. Next, add supporting elements. These provide context and curiosity. So look at your title and ask, what else needs to be shown so it makes sense? Obviously, there has to be someone making the hot dog, so let's add a person. Then I'll add some text to highlight how good the hot dog actually is. But if you want to add text in your thumbnail, don't just repeat the title. It should always add something new. Also, keep it readable and never let it cover any other elements. But let's say you already know what your thumbnail includes and you want to place it. If you just spread everything randomly like this, it's boring. And more importantly, it's confusing. That's why after deciding what goes in your thumbnail, you need to know how to put it together. And step 1 is the layout. The main star is in the center, left and right side are balanced. It's the cleanest and most common layout on YouTube. Use this when the viewer just needs to look at one subject. The main star is on one side, supporting elements on the other. This one is for thumbnails with lots of action going on. One element on the left, another on the right, sometimes separated by another one in the middle. Choose this when the video compares two states. Okay, so now you know where to place stuff, but that's not everything. You also have to control where people look, or else they'll get confused. And we'll do that with the next 3 design principles. Guide the eye toward the main star. Use arrows, circles, or position the background elements to point toward it. This literally forces the eye to look exactly where you want it to. First, I could blur the cursors a bit and keep the thumbnail sharp. That's ideal when you're trying to emphasize a small detail. Or I could change the size, make the thumbnail bigger and shrink everything else. Finally, I can create some depth by putting the text and some cursors behind the thumbnail for that 3D effect. So always use these 3 when you're trying to separate your elements. And the last principle is contrast. This is when most of the thumbnail is low saturation and the star is high saturation. And there are 2 more types of contrast you'll use. Brightness contrast is created when you combine dark and bright colors, like here where Arag made himself darker than everything else in the thumbnail. Now check out this thumbnail. See how the yellow here pops against the blue? That's called hue contrast. It's when you pair colors that sit opposite of the color wheel, like yellow and blue or red and green. But you can also stack these contrasts. A lot of good thumbnails use 2 and sometimes even 3 at the same time. That's why your thumbnail should always have at least one of these. But now you actually know everything you need to design a banger thumbnail. And look, I know this sounds like a lot right now, but the truth is, a great design makes a thumbnail a lot faster to understand. And when people understand it fast, they are far more likely to click. And now, there's just one last step for you to do, because there is something separating a thumbnail you think works from a one you know works. And it's something you are overlooking the most: testing. The first one is called the attention test. You need to make sure your thumbnail actually stops the scroll. So go to the site called Test My Thumbnails, put in your image and see if it grabs attention while scrolling. If it doesn't, you need to add more visual magnets. Test number 2 is the clarity test, because after seeing the thumbnail, the viewer needs to understand it quickly. So as you are in Test My Thumbnails, click size view to see your thumbnail in different sizes. Every element should stay clear, the text should be readable, and the whole thing shouldn't turn into mush. Also, your eyes should instantly land on the main star. The smallest it'll ever be is in the sidebar, so if it reads there, you're good. And the last one is the curiosity test. Simply look at your thumbnail for 2 seconds and ask yourself, is there a clear question that pops in my head? If there isn't, you need to make sure you're using the right thumbnail type for your video. But if you've passed all of these tests, you now know how to create a banger thumbnail. So this was the full thumbnail playbook to blow up your channel. Just pick one principle and apply it to your next upload. And that's all I got. I hope this helps.